If you want to know how do you actually impress your senior leaders without feeling like you have to give a laundry list of all the things you've done, listen up. This one is for you. A common mistake I've seen is when people finally get that coveted 30 minutes with some top executives, they waste it by simply rambling off all of the things that they've done. Now, your goal with this senior meeting might be for them to get to know you more, to understand what you have delivered, to build confidence in them and your ability to deliver and think strategically. Maybe you're meeting with them as part of your goal to get promoted and get put on more senior projects. Awesome. Do not walk in with a list of things you've done. That is a junior way of thinking and shows that you are not at the more senior level and aren't thinking strategically. And that actually counteracts the goal of what it is you are trying to do with your leader. Here's the framework I would suggest you use and how to present your work in a way that showcases your strategic thinking and your ability, and that you are already delivering at the higher level, and to build that trust and build that relationship along the way. Because if you just go in there with a list of your deliverables and accomplishments, people aren't impressed by that. They'll say, yep, that's your job. That's not what impresses people. A lot of people do a lot of things, but a more senior audience cares about the impact over the activity. So I want you to stop thinking about what did you do, and I want you to focus more on why should they care. More senior level people are thinking through the bigger picture and how might this help us reach our bigger goals? How might this clear roadblocks? How might this help us save time or money? How is this going to impact us at a bigger level to keep the boat moving in the direction we're trying to go? So in order to help you articulate that, we want to do it through a story framework. Story is what evokes emotion and makes people remember things. Think of your favorite book or your favorite movie or your favorite quote or your favorite song or something that has stuck with you. The reason that thing has stayed in your brain and in your body and is a memory with you is because of the emotion tied to it. We're not here to manipulate our executives or overinflate things, but simply listing off accomplishments doesn't tell the story. So you want to think of like the 5 main elements as you're telling this story. First, you want to set the stage, set the scene. Then you want to show the complexity. Why was this hard? Why was this challenging? Remember, we're showing, not telling. We're not getting into the technical details of it. But we're going to set the stage. We're going to show the complexity. We're going to share the journey, the obstacles, the ideas, the strategy that we did or that we have created the ideas around. Then we're going to highlight the impact, and we're going to end by asking for their input. Okay, so you're going to set the stage, show the complexity, share the journey, highlight the impact, and ask for input. This is going to help bring them along emotionally to understand not just the impact, but why was it a big deal? Why should they care? Why is it harder than maybe they even understood? So the impact is even greater than just what the data is telling us. So let me give you an example. If you go in just listing off your accomplishments, it might sound like, I redesigned our onboarding process, created new templates, ran 12 training sessions, and updated the documentation. Cool. If the leader you're presenting to hasn't been involved along the project, they're probably thinking something like, okay, good job. You did your job. Good job. Keep at it. Right? Instead, we want to tell more of the story. Here's what that might sound like in more of a story format. So we're going to start by setting the stage. We identified that it takes new hires 4 months before they're fully productive, which costs the company about $50,000 per person in lost productivity. And then you could give in some data of like how much potentially is the company losing every year based on the number of new hires they have. Okay, so we've set the stage. Now we're going to show the complexity. The challenge with resolving this was that we need to be able to scale our changes globally. All 15 regional offices had a different process in onboarding new employees because many of them have different needs and different challenges. So not only do we want to reduce the amount of time it takes our employees to onboard, but we need to make sure we do it without disrupting current projects or extending the onboarding period while we implement this change. As my team and I were diving into owning and leading this project, we discovered the main bottleneck wasn't actually training like we had initially thought as we went in. It was manager confidence. Because of that, we have pivoted our recommendation to utilize best practice solution A for our content solution, but we are recommending that we implement a manager support system that actually can be used for employees as well globally across the company. We're going to implement it in 3 phases, A, B, and C, because we are not sure how X is going to impact it. So after phase 2, we will reevaluate and assess the impact before we move on to phase 3. Our goal is to get new hires fully productive within 6 weeks. This will help create an annual savings for the company of X. As a leader within the company, I'm curious whether you think this approach would work in the European region. Or I'm curious where you think we might be over or underestimating the impact of these changes. I'm curious if you see other factors that may hinder our ability to hit this 6-week goal. I'm curious if you feel we've prioritized the right things, right? Do you see how now you're not going in and saying, I did all this stuff? You're going to have to do a lot of things, but you're presenting the project at a higher level, setting the stage, telling them why it's complex and hard, helping them see some of the objectives and challenges you've already identified, letting them know you have a clear goal that you're working towards and you understand why this should be prioritized as a work, and you want to have a discussion to understand their executive thinking and how it applies to this project. This is how you show your work. You don't tell them your work. And being able to have a conversation and not get defensive and be genuinely curious shows that you are a confident leader that thinks through the bigger picture, that isn't making this personal, that doesn't shut down when they get questions or feedback or pushback, but can have an open dialogue because your focus is on delivering on the project, not on needing their validation and to feel good yourself. You know how to do that for you. You're here simply as a leader that can have conversations with people and do it in the most genuine way that is true to you. If you are working on trying to impress senior leaders, bring them along the journey. Tell them the story for the love. Stop listing off all of the things you've done. You have to help them understand the complexity and challenge and impact of the work you have done or the work you're planning on doing. These are the larger strategic conversations happening at the higher level. The more you start having them today, the more you show you're already operating at that level. You have to manage your brain to get there. If you go into this conversation worried, am I going to ramble on? Am I going to look like an idiot? Are they going to think I'm dumb? Your brain will find reasons to believe those things, and you will spend your time making this mean something about you instead of making it be about the work. The more you're able to manage your brain and keep the conversation about the work, the more successful you're going to be. Managing your brain is the most important work you will ever do. If you want help with that, come join me in my coaching program. This is what we do. All right, y'all, you got this. You're amazing. We'll talk soon.